Most of the time when I review something here on the channel, here's how it works. Either I'm interested in checking out a product, or I will go ahead and take a suggestion from you guys. I'll get my hands on that product, I'll bring it out here, and I will test the ever-living crap out of it till I start feeling, you know, really confident and comfortable in bringing you guys my evaluation, and then I'll come out here and I'll film a video. Unfortunately, that's not always how it works. From time to time, there will be issues that come up, whether it is, I don't know, breakage or malfunctions, or, you know, just general problems that need addressed before I really feel comfortable making a video. At that point, it becomes less a review of the product itself and more a review of the company that makes that product. You know, how is their warranty process? What's their customer service like? Were they able and willing to take that product, fix it, replace it, make it better? You know, what was the experience overall? And that's the topic of today's video when it comes to this guy here, the Live Free Armory Apollo11. So you guys may or may not know that I bought both the compact and full-size Apollos at the same time. I did the review on the compact first. I wanted to, you know, do these things totally separately, and so I hadn't even shot the full size. The compact ran really well. I didn't have any problems. It ran the Checkmate mags, it ran the Staccato mags, it ran the Prodigy mags. Everything worked well, both with cheap range ammo as well as hollow point self-defense ammo. Now the ejection on that gun, the pattern was a little bit erratic. It wasn't the same all the time, but I figured, you know, it's no big deal. Later on, I can just tune it in. Whatever. Filmed the video, moved on to the full size, and the full size had the same problem with ejection. When I went to go ahead and tune in that ejector, I could not get it out of there. It is so tight in the channel that in order to actually remove it, I was risking damaging the finish on the gun, which obviously they're tools, they're going to get scratched eventually, but it was way tighter in its channel than it ever should have been. That's when I went to tune in the compact and realized that the compact had the exact same problem. The second issue with the full size is that from time to time, it didn't want to go all the way into battery. It would stop just short, right about there. Now, I chalked that up as it needing to be broken in. Sat on the couch and racked it, I don't know, 1,000 times while watching TV. That didn't fix it. Mind you, it wasn't all the time, it was somewhat sporadic, so I thought that was a little weird. That brings me to the third issue that I had with the full size. The third issue with this gun is that it kept hanging up on the extractor. So it would stop right about here, and it would just hang up on there, wouldn't move forward, and then all of a sudden on its own it would slide home. Most of the time when this would happen would be if I were to just rack it by hand, or instead of using the lever to send the slide home, I would just pull it back and let it go. It would stop, like I said, right about there, and that would be that. So then I tried to go back to the compact and kind of simulate the same thing. And sure as shit, the same thing was happening with the compact. Now the compact at that point, I had probably, I don't know, 1,500, maybe 2,000 rounds through it. So I didn't feel like that was a break-in issue. This one, I had, you know, ran the slide by hand, I don't know, 1,000 times at home. So that should have broken it in, at least partially broken it in. I think I had 500 rounds through this full-size Apollo, and, you know, it was still doing the same thing. All right, so that's 3 issues. The fourth issue is that the trigger on the full-size Apollo was loose as hell. It was sloppy. You could shake the gun and it sounded like a maraca. It had wobble side to side, up and down, and quite a bit of play front to back. Now, obviously, one of the draws to 1911s and 2011 style guns is that trigger, and that's not necessarily an acceptable kind of function for these guns. Mind you, I did have the compact, and the compact didn't have that same problem with the trigger. The trigger on the compact was nice and tight. The trigger was right up against the wall. There was no movement up, down, left, right, forward, and back. That trigger was perfect. So that's when I decided that it was time to go ahead and send these guns in for a warranty claim. The warranty process through Live Free Armory is pretty painless. I emailed in. Within, I think, 24 hours, I got an email back. Gave them all the information on what was going on. They went ahead and emailed me. First, it was a form to fill out for each gun with the serial numbers, what exactly was going on with them. They want you to really specify so that they can fix them properly. They sent me a shipping label. I filled everything out and I sent them in. Now, the warranty claim was, I don't know, just a few days after the last set of hurricanes that went through. So, you know, as far as time goes, I want to say it was about 2 weeks before I got them back. I don't know if that's indicative of like what it would normally be, because I know it was kind of chaos down there in Florida, but I felt like, you know, the time frame was acceptable considering the circumstances. So like I said, the guns came back in roughly 2 weeks, and when they came back, they had a note in there attached to both guns that said slide replaced. So it seems like they replaced the slide on both of the guns. The customer service through this was great. I just want to point that out. The people that I have spoke with, both through the sales department, through their custom coding department, and their customer service department, have been amazing. My first trip out to the range didn't go as planned. In fact, the guns didn't function. I had an issue where when the magazine was in, it would sometimes shoot the first round, but the trigger itself would pull back just a little bit and then it would be locked in place. Very similar to the way that it would be if the safety was on. Of course, the safety wasn't on. What the fuck is going on here? A little shaking, a little jiggling, some slamming, some curse words, and they would go ahead and fire. I'd get a couple of rounds through the guns, and again, the triggers would lock up. When I was out here testing them, there was a little bit of snow falling. I didn't really want to stay out here too long. Mind you, it's like 35 degrees this morning. It's really cold out here. The magazines, I would press them in a little harder, and it felt like that would make the triggers function a little bit better, but still they weren't necessarily operational. Next step was to take them home. I put snap caps in the magazines, cycle around in there, pull the trigger, and it would fire. Cycle around, pull the trigger, and it would fire. Cycle around, pull the trigger, and it would fire. It didn't seem to have any problems while using training ammo at the house. I came out here a second time to live fire these guns, and it was the same problem. The triggers at times were locking in place. They didn't want to function. I don't know what the problem was, but I went home again, completely stripped them down. I didn't see any problems with how they were put together. I didn't see any problems with, debris in there. They were both clean. Everything looked ship-shape. They were well lubricated. So I cleaned them, re-lubed them, put them back together, all that good stuff. Came back a third time to live fire test them. That was just 2 days ago. I think that was Thanksgiving when I did that, and they functioned miraculously. I don't know what the problem was, but the triggers were now working. I can't really say what the problem was. I can't even speculate on what the problem was. Everything looks as it should be, but they didn't want to work. And then all of a sudden, they did want to work. I'll roll some shooting footage in here to show that they are functioning, but now they're functioning. But it does leave me a little bit leery about the guns, because at this point, not knowing what was going on with those triggers means that I don't necessarily know if they're going to work every time. I feel like I'm going to have to put, I don't know, a couple thousand rounds through both guns before I really feel confident in how they operate. That's definitely a problem for this gun, the compact. I bought this specifically to use as a carry gun, and obviously if I don't trust it, I can't carry it. When I pull this gun out, I need to be 100% confident that it's going to fire every single time that I pull the trigger. At this point, it needs more testing. I will, of course, continue firing and evaluating these two pistols and bring you more information as we go forward. If things change, I will let you know. I will do a follow-up video down the road. Now, the one thing that really bothers me about the warranty experience that I had is with the full-size Apollo 11, one of my complaints was that the trigger itself was sloppy as hell. It shook all around. In the warranty paperwork that I filled out and sent in, I did make sure to notate that this was an issue, and the slip that I got back simply said, slide replaced. And you guessed it, this trigger still shakes and moves all over the place. I can move it side to side, front to back, up and down. It's like a hot dog down a hallway in there. Now, my best guess is that this grip module itself is out of spec, and that's why the trigger is sloppy as hell in there. And to me, that's unacceptable for a 2011 style gun. This should have never left the factory this way, and it certainly should not have left the warranty process still with that issue the same way that it was when I sent it in. I don't know that that's necessarily indicative of Live Free Armory's warranty process as a whole. Maybe they just forgot about it. Maybe the gunsmith that worked on this gun just kind of breezed over it. I don't know. You know, it was right after a hurricane. I'm not going to make excuses or speculate on why they didn't address the trigger in this gun. It is what it is at this point. Realistically, the goal for this gun is to put a metal grip on it. So I guess I can live with it as is for now. And when I put a metal grip on it, I'll put a better trigger in it, and the problem will be solved. My issue is that I spent $1,000 on this gun. It came in with a terrible trigger, and it went back in for warranty work and still came back with a terrible trigger. So let's recap. The warranty process was fairly fast. It was pretty easy. Customer service was great all the way around. Most of the issues that I sent them in for were taken care of. Yes, some things were missed. Yes, I don't really trust the guns at this point because of the trigger problems that they had when they came in. All in all, you know, if we were grading them on the warranty process, I'd give them probably a C-, to be perfectly honest. I know that a lot of people are having really great results with the Live Free Armory Apollo11s, so I don't know, maybe my guns were just the one in a million, I don't know. But yeah, as far as the warranty process goes, that's how mine went. Whether or not you should second guess buying an Apollo 11, I can't really say. All I can say is this has been my experience with dealing with their warranty process, and I feel like it's going to be an ongoing thing. Like I said, I'm going to put a couple thousand rounds through each of these guns, and then I'll come back and kind of let you guys know how it went, whether or not they've functioned throughout that couple thousand round process, and I guess we'll just go from there. You know, I worked in manufacturing for well over a decade, and I completely understand how the manufacturing process goes. Quality control is probably one of the more important departments when it comes to manufacturing. They are the last line of defense. They are the ones that should catch anything like this before it reaches the end customer. As far as my guns go, there were several failures along the way that led to me getting guns that probably never should have left the factory. I don't know that that is necessarily something that's a regular thing with Live Free Armory, but so far that's been my experience. That's it for today. Like I said, I've got a lot of rounds to put through these guns. I've got to get started today so that hopefully I can bring you guys an update in the next couple of months and see where we're at. Thanks for watching. I'll see you back here real soon.